Welcome back, guys, to episode 4 of the MTG Arena playthrough, walkthrough, tutorial, guide, whatever. Today we are going to be playing Mono Blue again, playing it in ranked best of 1. Normally I would play best of 3, but as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I have currently managed to climb my way to Silver Tier 3, but that's still not quite good enough to where we want to be playing best of 3s. So we're going to keep sticking to best of 1s probably until we hit gold or higher. So let's get started. There's been no changes to the main deck. We'll see if we can find some interesting gameplay, some things to talk about throughout the game. Alright, let's look at our opener. So, 2 lands, 2 1-drops, a Spell Pierce, a Trickster, and a Djinn. This hand's pretty good. The one thing obviously it's missing is Curious Obsession, but I think we will keep either way as we have some aggressive things to be doing right off the bat. So we'll start with a Mistcloak Herald. We'll pass the turn, see what our opponent has for us. Island most likely means we are playing the Mirror, so I will play an island and go to combat. Remember, I'm going to do everything that I want to do post-combat. Now here, I could either play the Mander and hold up Spell Pierce, or I could play the Trickster on their turn, or I could play Essence Capture on their turn. I don't plan to Essence Capture anything on 2. I want to hold that for a Tempest Djinn, more than likely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mana efficiently, wait till their turn, and then use Merfolk Trickster. They're opting, that's fine. Those are not the kind of spells we want to be interacting with our Spell Pierce. They scry to the top. Play their island. Let's see what they got. They for sure have a Trickster at this point, or some sort of a 1-drop creature. I'd be very surprised if they had absolutely nothing to do. Either way, we're going to run out our 2/2. We want to use our mana efficiently. That's very important in matchups like this. See what they have to say about it. They're fine with it. We draw an island. That's great. I'm going to play that. So here's a good decision point. There's a good chance that they have a Trickster in their hand, and what they're going to do is they're going to tap down my Trickster, or they're going to use their trigger on the Herald, so that way they can block it, and they're just going to try and eat it, and then untap, and they'll have gotten our creature for free. So I'm not going to offer that trade. I'm just going to swing in with the Trickster and see what they do. Opponent's thinking. The fact that they took so long to think that over makes me definitely reassured that they're up to something. We don't know what it is yet, but they have mana to interact on our turn for sure. We're going to get down another 1-drop so we can hold up Essence Capture for their Djinn if they plan to play one next turn, and we are going to pass. They did have it, so that was good. Not something that we want to interact with. We're not too worried about a 2/2 on the ground. We're going to keep the Essence Capture for something more important in the matchup. Play their 3rd land. They run out of Curious Obsession. Interesting. We can Spell Pierce this and tap them out, and then block, so that way they don't get to draw a card. We could also just let this resolve, and then block anyway, and I think I'm more interested in forcing them to tap out, I want to say. So we're going to do that. I want them to tap out so that way we can guarantee there's no way to interact with our Djinn on our turn. Wow. They Spell Pierce back. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, because there's no way. The best they could be holding up is a Spell Pierce. They could also be holding up maybe an Opt or something like that, but obviously that's not going to interact with our Djinn on our turn. Okay, we drew another Djinn. Well, we're going to swing for the fences. So, now we're at a point where we can play a Djinn. And then if they untap, play an island, play a Djinn, we're in a bad place because their Djinns will outtrade ours. On the other hand, this is controlling the board, so we have to interact in some way. Otherwise, this is going to take over the game. So I think our best play is just to get a Djinn down, tap out, and then let them do their worst. Which I believe is probably going to be another Djinn for their side. Oh, they don't have one. Okay. Now they have to swing. Okay. So the only option there was they had to swing to keep their Curious Obsession. Perhaps they have Dive Down to keep it alive, which is fine, but it's still something I'm more than happy to do to force a card out of their hand and keep them from drawing for that turn. So that was a good win. Let's play another one. Yes, coins. Thank you, thank you. Let's get right back into it. Interesting game. So they kept 1 mana open on our turn. I'm still not sure why they did that. They must have been holding up Spell Pierce. But we had 3 mana, so if we Curious Obsession, we could pay for it anyway. Okay, 3 islands, 2 1-drops, a Djinn, and an Opt. That's interesting. Again, lacking a Curious Obsession, but I think the hand is good enough with the Opt and the Djinn eventually that we're going to keep it regardless. The one thing we have to keep in mind about this hand is, aside from the Storm Tamer, we have no way of interacting with what they're doing, so we have to be very careful, keeping an eye on the mana they have and what they're up to throughout the game. Legion's Landing. Okay, this is some sort of an aggressive deck. Well, let's go ahead and get in there. And we will play a Siren Storm Tamer. You could argue that I could have opted and played an island pre-combat to try and find a Curious Obsession for my Mander, but there's 2 reasons that's not great. 1, it shows that I have no interaction on my opponent's turn, and 2, if I put a Curious Obsession on the Mander, I give it a +1/+1 counter, so I actually cannot adapt this creature. So just be careful if you decide to play this deck. You really never want to Curious Obsession your Petramanders, because if they get a 1/1 counter, you cannot successfully adapt them anymore. A 1/1 with lifelink. Do we want to trade? I don't think so. There's no reason to right now. Type Taker. During your turn, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more. Okay. Afterlife 1. Well, we are going to opt in response. Another land. That's not too bad, but I'm sure we'll draw some. Right now, we're just looking for Curious Obsessions, interaction, things like that. Okay, we're going to go straight to combat again. They still have no flyers, so we're going to keep attacking. Now, we can play Djinn. Worst thing they could have is what? History of Benalia? With this, we can't interact with History of Benalia anyway, so we're not going to try and act like we have something in our hand to deal with what they're up to. We're just going to get our best creature down in the matchup and pass the turn and see what happens. Looks like they're definitely playing an aggressive mono-white deck. Dauntless Bodyguard, that's the one that you can sacrifice to give something indestructible. And a Sky Marcher Aspirant. Okay, they're very aggressive. However, none of this is leading them to being able to attack. So I assume next turn they're going to have something big. They might have the Convoke guy that gives everyone +1/+1. That would be pretty bad for us. But it's not really something that we can beat. We can Wizard's Retort since we have the Siren Storm Tamer out. So I think we will just hold up the counter spell, attack with everything. So, on their turn, either they play something huge that we counter, or we can play the Merfolk Trickster to block and kill something, which would also be pretty good. Okay, they're coming in with everything. They're going to transform the Legion's Landing. And we are going to take this opportunity to probably eat one of these 1/1s. Actually, we're gonna hit this Dauntless Bodyguard, so that way it doesn't have the ability to sacrifice and save anything. And we're gonna trade with the Tide Taker, so that way we can interact better going forward. Okay, creatures you control gain indestructible. Like, he could have put a 1/1 on it. So basically, he traded a 1/1 counter on every single one of his creatures in order to eat one of my 2/2s, which I don't think is great for him, so I'm fine with that. Okay, opponent's keeping me at the helm here. What has he got going on? Is he going to let me go to combat? Yes, he is. We're just going to swing at the 4/4. We're going to start holding up blockers so that way we can make trades or force more stuff like this to happen. Plus, we'll hold up Wizard's Retort so we can counter this worst case scenario. So we will go ahead and pass the turn. We are definitely still winning this race. Another Type Taker. That is fine. We can still cast our Wizard's Retort and our Merfolk Trickster. I'm going to get this down. No, I'm not. I could get it down pre-combat and tap down something like Dauntless Bodyguard, but I'm not too upset with if he attacks with everything, because I'm going to get quite a few trades here. Interesting. Okay. We will definitely get down the Trickster. We are going to stop the effect of the Bodyguard to save something. And I think we will just eat some of these creatures. Oops. So he gets in 1 damage. We trade 2 creatures. He loses 3. I think we're ahead in that play. He has nothing to do other than play his Hollowed Fountain, so that way he can make a 1/1 vampire with lifelink. That's totally fine. We are still winning this race. I don't think he's going to expect another Trickster, but there's no reason to attack with it anyway because we already have a huge advantage in the air, and we can just keep eating 1/1s as he makes them by surprising him with the Tricksters over and over. He's going to make his 1/1, that's perfectly fine. Okay, that was a good draw for him. We're going to have to counter this, but it's not a big deal because we still have a blocker, but we can't let this resolve and have him eat our Tempest Djinn, so we're going to counter it. So we'll see what our opponent does here. He's going to attack with everything. We are going to continue to eat these 1/1s. Are we? They have lifelink. He goes to 9. He goes to 5. He goes to 7. He goes to 3. He goes to 5. Okay. I think our best play is to get these Type Takers off the board. Play for a little bit longer of a game. Let him do some life linking. He's going to get these 1/1s, but I don't really mind. We are going to attack still. If he wants to trade his 1/1, I'm perfectly fine with that. If he doesn't, I'm also perfectly fine. Yep, that's fine. Okay. Now, I believe I want to get down this Mistcloaked Herald and then hold up the Merfolk Trickster and just continue to make favorable trades. He'll continue to make 1/1s unless he draws something great, but as long as he doesn't, we're going to be ahead in this game. Okay. we will play the Trickster, put it on the Type Taker. We will block one, and we will eat one of these vampires. And then, obviously, he does not get the Afterlife because the Merfolk Trickster canceled his abilities for the turn. We're going to continue to be aggressive, and we'll just play a couple more creatures on our turn. This is one of those moments where you got to be able to smell blood in the water and know it's your time to take advantage of the game. Otherwise, the game's going to go too long. I'm going to play everything here. No more tricks up my sleeve. I just want to have as many blockers and trades that I can possibly make and hold up much of an aggressive stance as I can, so that way my opponent has to really think thoroughly about whether or not they want to be attacking. They do. I will continue to make trades, I believe. Spell Pierce is good. We're going to hold up our Merfolk Trickster so we can keep eating one of these vampires. So he's going to go to 3. He's going to make another vampire attack, probably with 2 of them, go to 5. Then he'll go to 1, make another vampire, attack with 2, and then go to 3, and then we should be able to kill him in 2 turns. Okay, that's fine. That's a pretty good draw. We have, let's take a look here. 1, 2, only 3? Okay. So, we can force this to die, basically, or we can at least put it in a situation where he has to create a vampire and trade by attacking with both, and we drew the Petromander, so we are going to do so. Sure. Blocking both, really? That can't be correct. Yeah, there's no way that favors him because he's not able to keep his aggressive stance. He must have drawn something that interacts with what's on the board right now, if he's making that in main phase. Okay, I guess he didn't. It's important that you never do stuff like that on your turn. You can't use the creature. It's going to be summoning sick anyway, and it gives away the fact that either you have something to do right now or you don't have anything to do at all. And either you're going to do it pre-combat and I'll know what it is, or you're not going to do it at all and I'll know you have nothing. So just make sure that you're still continuing to make the right plays regardless of what it may look like to your opponent and how bad of a situation you're actually in. But that game was interesting. The main thing was playing around the Adanto, making the 1/1s, and it was important that every time I was considering combat, I was considering I'm going to deal 4, he's going to gain 1. If he makes a vampire, he's going to gain 2. So I'm effectively only dealing 2 and killing 1 vampire a turn. So if he would have traded differently and kept his 2/1 alive, he may have had a route to victory by trading with my Jin and then just occurring enough vampires to the point where I can no longer out-damage his lifelink. But it seemed like he was possibly getting frustrated he wasn't drawing anything that was going to help him in that very certain scenario, and just decided to throw in the towel. So, I think this will be the last video on Mono Blue that I post. Unless you guys are enjoying it, you can let me know in the comments, all 7 of you. If not, I'm thinking about making the gate deck, the 5-color gate deck. That seems interesting, not extremely popular, and something that would be fun to watch, as I'm looking on YouTube and literally everyone on the planet is making mono blue videos. So I don't want to kind of just go with the flow and play what's best. I chose this deck before it got super popular because it was cheap and it looked like something that I would enjoy, which I do. So I'll probably grind off YouTube videos with it, do it on my own time, and then when I choose to make another video, I will perhaps make a new deck or work on the 5-color gate deck. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I believe this week I will start posting Commander content once a week. I'll do one of my deck techs. I have 9 right now, I believe. So we'll have 9 weeks of content for that, and then I do have plans to make more and talk about ideas for more of them, so that could possibly turn into more videos. But thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you guys later.